Summer 1863. America was a nation at war with itself, its heart torn apart by the Civil War, a brutal struggle over slavery, power, and the very idea of what it meant to be one country. The North, fighting to preserve the Union and end the shackles of slavery, clashed with the South, a defiant Confederacy clinging to its way of life. In the quiet fields of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, a sleepy farming town of 2,400 souls, fate was about to unleash a storm that would shake the nation to its core. This wasn't just a battle, it was a collision of destinies, a crucible of blood and fire that some say left a curse on the land, whispering through the hills to this day. The road to Gettysburg, a nation on the brink. The Civil War had raged for 2 years, leaving scars across the land. The Confederacy, led by the brilliant General Robert E. Lee, had humiliated the Union in battles like Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, their victories fueling dreams of independence. But the South was bleeding, its men, supplies, and hope dwindling. Lee, with his piercing gray eyes and unyielding resolve, hatched a daring plan: invade the North. By striking deep into Pennsylvania, he aimed to shatter Union morale, seize supplies, and force President Abraham Lincoln to beg for peace. It was a gamble that could end the war, or destroy the Confederacy. Meanwhile, the Union Army, battered but stubborn, was under new leadership. General George Meade, a gruff, no-nonsense Pennsylvanian, had just taken command of the Army of the Potomac days earlier. His 90,000 men were tired, their boots worn thin, but they carried a fire in their hearts: the Union must endure. As Lee's 70,000-strong army of Northern Virginia marched north, Meade's scouts tracked their every move, sensing a showdown looming. Gettysburg wasn't supposed to be the battleground. It was just a crossroads town, its dirt roads converging like the spokes of a wheel. But in late June, whispers spread among Confederate troops: Union cavalry had been spotted nearby. On June 30th, a Confederate brigade under General James Pettigrew ventured toward Gettysburg, searching for supplies. Rumors spoke of a warehouse full of shoes, a prize for soldiers marching in rags. They spotted Union horsemen and pulled back, but the spark was lit. Fate, or something darker, was pulling these armies together. July 1st, 1863, the storm breaks. Dawn, July 1st, 1863. The air was thick with summer heat, the fields around Gettysburg golden with wheat and corn. At 5:30 a.m., a single shot rang out northwest of town, fired by a Union cavalryman under General John Buford. His 2,900 dismounted troopers, armed with rapid-fire carbines, held a low ridge along the Chambersburg Pike, watching as Confederate infantry approached. Buford, a steely veteran, knew his small force couldn't stop Lee's army, but he could buy time. From a seminary cupola, he scanned the horizon, muttering, "They're coming, and they're coming strong." The Confederates, under General Henry Haight, advanced with confidence, expecting only local militia. Instead, they met Buford's cavalry, fighting like demons from behind stone walls and fences. For 2 hours, the Union troopers held their ground, their carbines spitting fire, delaying Haight's 7,000 men. Bullets whizzed through the morning mist, and the first blood soaked the soil. Buford sent desperate pleas for reinforcements, knowing the fate of the Union hinged on holding this ground. By 10 a.m., help arrived. The Union's First Corps, led by General John Reynolds, marched double-time toward Gettysburg. Reynolds, a beloved commander with a reputation for fearlessness, rode ahead to meet Buford. "Hold them as long as you can," Reynolds urged, his voice steady despite the chaos. As he directed troops into position along McPherson's Ridge, a Confederate sharpshooter's bullet struck him in the neck. Reynolds fell from his horse, dead instantly, a devastating blow to Union morale. Yet his men, fueled by grief and duty, surged forward, forming a line to face the growing Confederate tide. A town engulfed in chaos. As the battle escalated, Gettysburg streets became a nightmare. Confederate divisions, now reinforced by General A. P. Hill's corps, poured in from the west and north, their battle cries echoing like a wolf pack on the hunt. The Union's 11th Corps, rushing to support the 1st, took positions north of town, but they were outnumbered and outflanked. By noon, the fighting was a whirlwind of smoke, screams, and cannon fire. Artillery shells tore through barns and homes, and civilians huddled in basements, praying for salvation. Elizabeth Thorne, a pregnant mother whose husband was away fighting, later recalled the terror. The house shook, and I thought the end had come. The Confederates pressed their advantage, their lines advancing with relentless precision. Union troops fought bravely, but the pressure was crushing. By late afternoon, the Union's northern line collapsed under an assault led by General Jubal Early's division. Thousands of blue-clad soldiers fled through Gettysburg streets, dodging bullets and bayonets. Some were captured, herded into barns like cattle. Others scrambled to the hills south of town, Cemetery Hill, Culp's Hill, where Union commanders rallied their men for a last stand. The Hills of Destiny. As dusk fell, the first day's fighting left a grim toll, nearly 9,000 Union and 6,000 Confederate casualties. The Union had been pushed back, but they held the high ground. Cemetery Hill, with its commanding view, became their stronghold, bristling with cannons and determined men. General Winfield Scott Hancock, sent by Meade to take charge, arrived at dusk, his presence like a shot of whiskey to the shaken troops. "We can hold this ground," he barked, directing fortifications as stars began to pierce the sky. Across the fields, Lee stood on Seminary Ridge, his face a mask of determination. He hadn't planned to fight here, but the battle had chosen its ground. His men had won the day, but the Union's hilltop defenses loomed like a challenge. As campfires flickered and wounded men groaned in the darkness, Lee conferred with his generals. "We press them tomorrow," he said, his voice low but resolute. But some whispered of strange omens, a blood-red moon, eerie cries in the night. Was Gettysburg just a battlefield, or had the land itself been marked for something greater, and more sinister? July 2, 1863. Gettysburg's fields, already stained with the blood of thousands, awoke to a second day of war under a sweltering summer sun. The quiet Pennsylvania town, thrust into the heart of the Civil War, was no longer just a crossroads, it was a crucible where the fate of a fractured America hung in the balance. The Union Army, battered but defiant, clung to their hilltop stronghold south of town. The Confederates, emboldened by yesterday's gains, hungered for a knockout blow. As cannons roared and soldiers braced for slaughter, whispers of a curse grew louder. Strange shadows flickered in the dawn mist, and men on both sides felt it. Gettysburg wasn't just a battlefield. It was something more, a place where destiny and darkness intertwined. Dawn of desperation. The first day had left both armies reeling. The Union's Army of the Potomac, under General George Meade, had lost nearly a third of its men but held the high ground, Cemetery Hill, Culp's Hill, and the long spine of Cemetery Ridge. General Winfield Scott Hancock, a towering figure with a voice that could rally the dead, worked through the night to fortify these positions. Barricades of stone and wood rose, cannons were wheeled into place, and weary soldiers sharpened bayonets, their eyes haunted but resolute. Meade, arriving at midnight, surveyed the lines and growled, "This is good ground. We'll fight them here." Across the fields on Seminary Ridge, General Robert E. Lee, the Confederacy's master strategist, stood like a statue carved from granite. The first day's victory had been incomplete, the Union still held those damned hills. Lee knew time was against him, his army was far from home, low on supplies, and the North's reinforcements were coming. He called his generals, James Longstreet, A.P. Hill, Richard Ewell, to his headquarters, a small farmhouse. Longstreet, Lee's trusted war horse, urged caution, suggesting they maneuver around the Union lines. But Lee's blood was up. "The enemy is there," he said, pointing to Cemetery Ridge, "and I am going to strike him." His plan, a massive assault to smash the Union's flanks, crack their defenses, and roll them up like a carpet. As the sun climbed, Gettysburg buzzed with tension. Civilians, still trapped in town, peered from shuttered windows, their prayers drowned by the distant rumble of drums. In the fields, soldiers wrote hurried letters home, sensing death's shadow. A Confederate private scribbled, "If I fall, tell Ma I fought for what I believed."